Meeting the Amherst Township called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lynch?
Here.
Urick?
Yes.
Kish is present, and Abraham is excused absent. So I will note that we have a quorum.
Okay. Thanks, Chris.
Oh, I guess I'm not. I have the meeting minutes from the July 25th, 2023 regular meeting of the Amherst Township Trustees. The meeting was called to order at 7:03 p.m. by Lynch with a pledge to the flag. Roll call, Abraham, Lynch, and Urick were present. Kish was absent. Also in attendance, Case Marsh, G. Lynch, and C. Nyhart. 7:15:23, a motion by Urick, seconded by Abraham. Moved to approve the July 11th, 2023 regular meeting minutes as read. Roll call, all ayes. 7:16:23, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Urick. Moved to approve the financial reports and payment of items on the payment listing with reservation as provided by the fiscal officer. All ayes. 7:17:23, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham. Moved to approve that the June 2023 credit card account transaction detail has been reviewed per policy and is accepted as presented subject to investigation. All ayes. Under correspondence, Trustee Lynch noted a resignation letter was received from Township Architect Mark Lesner. Mark has agreed to assist us through the transition when available. He provided several names of potential candidates to fill the post. Trustee Urick will be contacting the prosecutor's office to see if there are any guidelines in place per ORC code we need to fulfill with this position. There is a public hearing scheduled for Thursday, August 1st, 2023 regarding approximately 45 acres fronting the east side of Oberlin Road, south of State Route 113 from RAG to R1. Under reports, ambulance service. Information was included in packets from the last Sandstone Joint Ambulance District meeting and other information provided from Amherst Assistant Fire Chief Brandon Demakia regarding the new agreement with Life Care and the Sandstone Joint Ambulance District. There will be another special meeting of the Sandstone Joint Ambulance District on Thursday, August 17th at 6 p.m. at the Amherst Fire Department to discuss this further. Fire Prevention Officer reported that the water line improvement for proposed sandstone development to increase water pressure on State Route 58 south of Turnpike. Chris also mentioned this weekend at Speedway there are 6 to 8 show times over a 4 to 5 day period, so traffic will be increased. Roads, parks, and cemetery, mowing, trimming, and potholes. Sandstone excavation was in and completed the first mini grant, which was storm sewer repairs, and will be completing the second mini grant. Oberlin Road repaving between Middle Ridge looks to be done around the end of August. Griffith Paving still has work to be done on Balsam Drive. Looks like this will be done this Friday. The engineer has still not gotten back regarding the estimate for round 38 of the OPWC cycle. Trustee Lynch noted a new grant is available under Ohio Public Works, an emergency grant, which states it has to be a true emergency and not a lack of maintenance. He has asked Kevin and Administrator Ashley to look into this for the Broadway Taylor issue to see if this is considered an emergency and could be considered for grant dollars. He also mentioned that Kevin was going to be checking with Don Romanchik if there are any leftover stormwater funds for the 2023 program year that might be utilized for this project. Under complaints, they are being handled by the designated individual. Under old business, Trustee Urick mentioned he is still working with manufactured home parks in Amherst Township for potential inclusion in the upcoming bid for Solid Waste Consortium curbside waste and recycling service. He's trying to get this information as quickly as possible for the Consortium 2023 bid schedule. Trustee Lynch noted the packets contain information from Solid Waste Director David Blevins regarding utilizing their shredding equipment and creating a shredding event during our dumpster days in October. The next regularly scheduled meeting will be Tuesday, August 8th, 2023 at 7 p.m. at the Amherst Township Hall. 7:18:23, a motion by Abraham, seconded by Urick to adjourn at 8:08 p.m. All ayes.
Do you have any changes to the July 25th, 2023 meeting minutes, David?
I have none.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I will second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
And you have the financial reports in front of you. The payment listing for this pay period is a little large, but that is a big chunk of it. Actually, more than half of it is our Amherst Fire Department second quarter payment. And then there were a couple of large ones. Sandstone excavating was in there. That was for the mini grant. And then MJ Griffith was,
Also,
so those were the big chunks.
and then, Chris, as far as then on the financial reports for the revenue, we haven't received our second half property tax yet, have we?
No, we have not. And I just checked because I was like, I know that's going to be coming.
Yeah, it should be sometime this month. hopefully.
Yeah, usually closer to the middle, not that we're far away from the middle, but our year-to-date revenue is $956,818.18. And then our year-to-date expenditures are $708,890.24.
Hopefully sooner than later, but I'm sure they're hanging on to it with their investment opportunities now. Seen that in past years where it comes later. Hey, David, do you have any questions on the financials or the payment listing?
No, I have no questions on them. $53,000 for a quarter for a fire, so,
That's the second quarter.
yeah.
I'm going
Basis.
to make a motion then to approve the financial reports and the payment listing, payment of items on the payment listing. There are no included ARPA funds at this time, and expenditures as specified in the documents provided by the fiscal officer.
A second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
Paula?
And that number, Chris?
Is 82.
Me too. Thank you. Anything else, Chris?
Nope, not under financials, no.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to welcome everyone in attendance. If anyone has anything to bring before the trustees, please raise your hand. Yes, sir? Just state your name and where you live.
I am Michael O'Donnell. This is Ashley Law. And I have a note on my door that we are not allowed to have pets. And I just got a little puppy. So I was wondering if we could keep her.
Well, Mike, my vote would be no. The township had changed the rental agreement back several renters prior to you because we had experienced a situation where someone did have a dog and it created a considerable amount of damage and a huge amount of cost to renovate that home. So the decision was we weren't allowing any pets inside the house.
I understand that. I remodel houses. There's a lot of houses that I go into that are nasty. The fathers or the mothers of the dogs don't take care of their pets. And I guarantee you that I will. And it shall be trained right. And if you want to, you could do monthly walkthroughs if that's a decision.
Yeah, I'm still a no because even in training, having had dogs myself, I know the way they scratch when they want to go out, and those are all hardwood floors that we had refinished in there. It's just, and that was put in the rental agreement up front, and that's how the rent itself is established. I'm sure you're aware, you get rentals other places, they have restrictions usually on the size of pets in addition to additional cost per pet. That's going to be part of the rental. We don't have that in here. This rental price is set based on the current market and the assumption that there's no pets inside. So I don't know, David, do you have any other position?
No, that I don't. With animals, it's different, and it's hard to keep them from having at least one accident. And we invested money in the house, and start having pets, and at the minimum, you're talking replacing carpet.
There is no
at
carpet
the
in
end
that
of
house.
And my gut reaction is no, not really. They can hold the dog till you find a solution. But as far as having him the puppy at the house, I would say no.
Well, probably what you've got, Mike, is just, at this point, you've got time. I know that A lease is going to come up soon. Try and find an alternative as far as someone to take the dog. Okay, otherwise, let's go find someplace else to rent that will accept animals. Okay, I know it's difficult, but that's in the lease, in the agreement.
Yeah, I understand that. We can't add any money to the security deposit?
I
Do monthly walkthroughs?
Yeah, I haven't just heard this now. My answer is going to be no. I have to, I may have to think about that and talk with our third trustee who's not here this evening. And
Do you know when he'll be back?
should be back for the next meeting, which is in 2 weeks. I'm not sure he's available by phone, but
I mean, we can go over there right now. You can do a walkthrough. I've had her for 3 weeks.
well, just
I've had a couple dogs. They've all been trained well. I've had labs. I've had hunting labs. They've all been trained to the top T. I tell that dog to heel, it heals. No accidents.
Yeah. Well, what we've got right now is we'll have to wait. The trustee comes back in 2 weeks. The lease is up soon. You'll have to decide. Obviously, with the short amount of time, we probably decide at the lease renewal if we'll renew or not. Otherwise, the option is if we don't see the dog removed, then it's a matter of going through the eviction process.
I understand
Those are our
that.
options.
But I don't want to get evicted either because I like the house. I like being here. I like Kevin.
Yeah. Well,
This is my first time meeting all you guys. I never knew what these meetings were about.
Well, I understand your position, Mike, and hopefully you understand ours.
I understand it.
Third trustee.
I understand it all the way because like I said, I remodel houses. I go into houses and they're flea infested and they don't take care of their dogs. Basement's full of crap. We're clean people.
Okay.
I'm not gonna live in trashy house and I'm not gonna let that dog do that to the house.
Well, I understand your position, you understand ours.
Yeah.
This would have been it would have been a different conversation probably had you come to us prior to having the dog in the house, but the
Yeah.
lease is very clear as far as no animals in the house. Okay?
I understand that.
Okay. Well, just check back in a couple of weeks, or if you can find some place to take the dog, or whatever you're going to do as an option.
I'm already looking,
let us
but I
know.
don't want to do that.
Pardon?
I said I'm already looking, but I don't really want to do that.
Yeah.
I can
Well, see,
understand it.
I like living there. I like being next to the township. I like the sheriff's being here.
Mhm.
I'm respectable. I'm a good tenant.
Yeah, there's nobody's questioning that. It's just,
Yeah.
we made a decision here as a board because of our previous experience that we're not going to have animals in
I understand.
the house. Okay, well, just stay in touch.
I will.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Nice meeting you guys.
Okay, no one else? Okay, correspondence, Chris?
You have what I have.
Okay. David?
I have nothing to bring forward at this time.
Okay, there are 2 items in your packet under correspondence, and Chris had mentioned them because she had put them in our box. First one is just the NOACA requesting the annual dues. In our case, Lorraine County divides it up among the different political subdivisions based on population. For Amherst Township's apportionment would be $1,117 for the NOACA fiscal year from July 1st, 2023 to June 30th of 2024. If you read NOACA Executive Director Grace Bellucci's memo here, she talks about these funds being used as matching funds for federal apportionment that NOACA receives as a metropolitan planning organization for Cuyahoga, Geauga, Lake, Lorraine, and Medina counties. Lorraine County does get some of their share. Realize as far as coming directly to Amherst Township, it's pretty minimal. She goes through some of the programs that are funded. The only one that we have ever received direct funding for was the Transportation for Livable Communities initiative, which are just re-implementing now. There was at one time, Amherst Township did receive a $20,000 grant to help us with the planning grant and the update of our zoning resolution, and particularly the State Route 58 corridor for the commercial area. But I believe Chris had told me earlier, you'll actually be paying this in January, Chris, because our fiscal year is calendar year, which doesn't match up with NWACA, and Chris has already been in contact with NWACA on that. That's the first item. And David, you'll get the vote on it when payment is shown up on the payment listing also, but I've never heard any objection to this in the past. I know some of the other townships, more rural townships in the past, have withheld payment. The second item is a notice from the Lorraine County Board of Commissioners clerk, Teresa Upton. She's mentioning that at the Lorraine County Board of Commissioners meeting on Tuesday, September 5th, at 5:00 p.m. on the 4th floor, Lorraine County Administration Building in Conference Room B. The commissioners are going to be discussing changes in the statute, specifically in sections 303.57 through 303.58 as a result of Senate Bill 52. That now is giving an option where you will have local control over these larger commercial wind farms versus before this was strictly a decision by the Power Siting Board. So locally, we really didn't have a whole lot of control. Amherst Township does have in our zoning code some regulations on wind turbines, but it's predominantly going to be the location relative to setbacks from adjoining properties and fall zones and whatnot. We're somewhat limited in what we can do, and we had worked with the prosecutor at the time when we put those codes in place. And at that time, Lorraine County Community College did have a wind turbine program. I believe it's been discontinued since then. But we had the professor at the time that taught that course give us some guidance. So that code is based on what the previous law was. So the county commissioners are looking at this. If the township's positions in the unincorporated area, if they want each township to consider an individual resolution to provide to the Board of Commissioners so that they can determine if there's any restricted area for the construction of economically significant wind farms or large wind farms or large solar facilities. Realize this has happened in Erie and Huron County. I can tell you from past experience, this even rose to the federal level where property owners that were opposed were trying to get this changed because there were some large wind farms going in that area. And you had those that supported it and those that opposed it, obviously. And they found out locally they really had very limited authority. So here's the state's given the county some authority here, and the county's looking for input from the township. So David, if it's possible to attend, again, that's Tuesday, September 5th at 5:00 on a Tuesday. I'd suggest you be there. Hopefully they move through quickly because the township also has a public hearing on a rezoning of 45 acres that was continued from a meeting on August 1st to be continued on September 5th. And I know at that time, the hall was filled to capacity in that all our chairs were taken. There weren't any extra chairs, with a standing room only. I don't know if the same group will show up, but it's potentially that they can. They were all notified that the public hearing would be continued. So we may be running from one meeting to the next. Okay, but it's probably pretty important to get there, David, because there we'll probably learn more as far as the county's position, hear from the other townships. I don't know at this point in time, since we just received this, if the county's included the Farm Bureau, because typically these are in larger areas, and since it's only the unincorporated area, we're only talking land wind farms, nothing like you recall the city of Lorraine wanted to get, going way back to Tony Krashenko areas. I think they thought there were going to be turbines all along Lake Erie out there. But if you can attend, I would encourage you to attend that meeting.
Okay. Sometimes with the wind farms, O'Neill, it's right up there with nuclear waste dumps. Do you think that we'll get a nuclear waste dump in the township too? We might, we might not. I got mixed emotions on
There
this.
might be some carried along the railroad tracks right now.
Well, it could be, but that's transient, unless it spills. But, I got other things, and I could say something right now, I won't, but, yeah, other things going on in this township, and, we're out attacking windmills. We've got those regulations. Those regulations were put in, and we've got propane distribution plants right next to residential, and we've got things going in next to it, and nothing's done with that, but somehow we managed to regulate windmills. And in all due respect, I think there was one. There was one windmill, and that's, in all the years, that's all this has ever been in Amherst Township. So,
Well, I know a former zoning commission chair that was considering putting them in, that thought it was a good idea, particularly with the subsidized tax credit that they received, and they found out it was still too costly, and they chose not to do it. But, if you've got any of these other items you mentioned, David, if you've got any proposed regulations that you think would be beneficial to the township, by all means, put it together and bring it forward. As you're aware, this board can go ahead and amend our zoning resolution at any time, and I haven't seen where you brought those regulations forward. So if you're interested in doing that, by all means, you know the process. Okay?
All
But
right.
this isn't,
but,
this is something the county has brought up. If you choose not to attend, that's your choice. But I'm not taking a position pro or con. I'm just telling you, the county has offered for us to come forward to hear about it, and they want a resolution from the township individually. I don't know if that resolution may be you want to support wind farms. I don't know what the resolution is going to say. You can read the memo as well as I can. Okay? I just received it today. I think it's dated August 2nd. All right? Okay, we'll move on. Let's see, Denny, he had informed us he's not here, but I do want to mention for the Sandstone Joint Ambulance District, I had mentioned at the last meeting, and it's on your agenda, about a special meeting on Thursday, August 17th. I just received from Brandon Demakia, Amherst Fire Department Assistant Chief, that meeting has been canceled. So it is official, it is canceled, and I didn't look at the distribution list on that, David, since it just came in, but just adjust your calendar. There's no meeting on August 17th, and the email did not say when the next meeting would be scheduled. Okay, we'll move on to zoning. Our zoning inspector, Sam D'Ambrosio, is not here, but I already mentioned that the public hearing is continued to Tuesday, September 5th at 6:30 p.m. I also have included in the packet documentation on architect and fire inspector professional fees and site plans and whatnot. This had come up at the last meeting that I brought up where our former architect, Matt Lesner, has resigned. He will help us through in any transition. For the most part, he was here whenever there was a site plan review. That was really the only involvement. Fees at that time ran just under $100 an hour, and that could vary, anywhere from 1 to 8 hours, depending upon the size of the project. And this had come up before our township administrator, Linda Ashley, and zoning inspector, Sandy Ambrose, were looking at it from the standpoint, our current site plan review fees weren't covering the cost. And that documentation's in here for your records. But they were looking at from the standpoint, how do we cover this cost, particularly when the cost is variable, and coming up with different ways of handling that. In their review and checking through, though they didn't review all the townships, they reviewed the townships that are similar in size to Amherst Township that actually see development. So we're talking about Columbia, Eaton, Carlisle Township. The only township that even had site plan review was Eaton Township. The others don't even have it as part of their zoning. And Eaton Township doesn't use an architect. Since that time, David, you were chartered with the task of checking with the prosecutor, since I'd asked you and Denny both, and you felt an architect is probably worth having on board. Well, what do we put together as far as a contract, a request for proposal? And I did include the document here with the August 4th, 2023 response from Greg Peltz of the Lorraine County Prosecutor's Office. At this time, other than Amherst Township, he's not aware of any township in Lorraine County that has an architect, whether as a contract employee or an actual employee. So at this point, it's just a matter of information being presented, because we are going to have to make a decision on this one way or the other, but I don't see where, even since it appears you and Greg were playing email tag, so you may have to talk with them some more, that we have anything to officially go out and trying to recruit an architect. I also included, though it's just a draft form and not to be final, a document I had sent to Linda and Sam previously. I don't recall if I had included the trustees on it. I imagine I probably did not, but this is when they were looking at, how do we at least make sure that we recover our cost? And so I put together a resolution trying to address the situation of these variable costs, and asked Sam and Linda to wordsmith that a little bit. But I don't want them spending a lot of effort on this when we still don't even know when and if we're having an architect. And then also the Ohio Revised Code is there for your pleasure, section 519.02, just to show that at this point in time, there is no requirement to have an architect. That is strictly a choice. There is the option under section 519 to have an architectural review board, and then if that's the case, it actually first requires if there's an architect within the township. If you can't find one within the township, then one from the county. But that gives a very specific identification of a 5-person review board, with one being the architect, of citizens from your community, and that's not something we have. That's in addition to the zoning commission. So that is in the code, but this is just for information. Read through it, and then David probably still work with the prosecutor as far as putting together a contract for service or a request for proposal. Okay?
Okay.
Hopefully this is a relatively quick meeting. We'll move on to roads, parks, and cemetery. Superintendent Smarsh.
Just the typical mowing and trimming. We do have a funeral, a burial on Thursday morning. And sandstone was in. They finished the second mini grant, and that was the 3 catch basins. Griffith Paving did come in that 2 Fridays ago and did the patching there on Balsam and on Juniper. and spoke with Tom Lewis with R&R Mac, and that ball now is going to be getting rolling here. Chris has his information. She's going to be getting in touch, and that's all going to start to happen there for the dump truck.
Okay. All right, great. So that's where getting the other one as far as a trade-in.
Correct. He's still going to come in. He says they do trade-ins, but he's got to get another gentleman to come in and take a look.
Right, just to give a reasonable estimate as far as
Yes.
cost there and appraisal.
There's still, you know, I mean, we're not going to stop, but there's, you know, it's still a year away before we even think about looking.
Right, which works the timing as you've been in the budget meeting to work out, so that's all good. It just, if the price is right, it just makes it a lot easier for us. And,
Sure.
you know, trying to put that thing up for bids and whatnot.
I spoke to him again today about that, and so it's back onto his radar for the to get the gentleman out here to take a look. Other than that, everything's running smoothly.
Have any questions, David?
At this time, no, I have nothing for Kevin. I know where you work, Kevin.
Okay, and just as a reminder, Kevin, there's actually several things here. Is one, that new grant, the Ohio Public Works Emergency Grant. I'll look at that if there's something to fit. I forget the individual's name here for our District 9, but they had recommended speak with them first before we put anything in. You may have different ideas where there's a true emergency. I thought the Broadway Taylor drainage maybe, even though that was something that, you know, was root bound and collapsing, but it was on private property, not something we could do with regular maintenance. Now that it's impacting the backup of the water and impacting roads and homes, you know, how do we get that done? Will this grant help fund that? So, you know, whether you and Linda coordinate that and having discussions. The other thing is with the stormwater district, if we want to do this sooner, if you're able to get that easement, will they be willing to provide funds for this now without having to wait until the next funding year? And then the final, so the third item is going to be, I don't recall, David, if you had seen this, but right after our last meeting, Kevin did receive from Sean DeFall in the Lorraine County Engineer's Office the estimate for Middle Ridge Road resurfacing from Brownhill Township to Quarry Road. And so he does have that estimate now to get working on the grant application, which I know both Bob Kleiber and Carl Wiesheimer of Grafton Township, who's the Township Association's rep on the executive committee, that get them in as fast as you can. We got to do it. We know we got to do it manually first, have the county look it over, then once they say everything looks good, go ahead and put it into the OPWC WorkWise. But for that section of Middle Ridge, you know, the estimate's just under $160,000 in total project right now as far as preliminary estimate. So,
What about 3/4 of a mile, isn't it?
I'm not sure of the distance. Is 3/4 of a mile reasonable?
3,600 and
6,
something.
5, 3, 6, 5, 6.
Something.
Yeah, so it's just, you know, it's just more work I know they've got to do, but in between the two of you working on this to try and help on the workloads if you can, and, you know, let's just try and get ours in as early as we can. The other two are potential additional funding, Kevin. If you're able to get to it. Okay?
I'll squeeze it in.
All right. Let me know if you need anything. So, all right. Anything else, Kevin?
No, that's it.
All right, move on to Senior Services, Township Administrator Ashley.
Back to the OPWC, Kevin and I did work on it today. We do have some preliminary figures. I'm going to show those to you tonight and see, because we are not 100% sure how much the township can give in local funds and how much of a loan component we want to.
We know the loan, we want to at least get the 1 point.
Well, we're trying to get the most points. That wasn't really feasible on the grant money from OPWC. So I think we went to 4 points, but then it gives us a bigger loan component. So I'm going to give you the numbers and you can look at them.
Okay. And this one would probably be for a 12-year term on the loan, too.
Yes, yep. But
That's 38.
yes.
Yeah, around
Okay,
30.
Yes, around 38, sorry. So I was on vacation last week, so this week's kind of catch up, trying to get things done. We've got the 206 addresses that Redwood requested that we're trying to fit in here and there. It's quite a big job to get that many addresses. Helping Morgan, she's doing a lot of filing and organizing for us, which are our zoning public hearings and that kind of stuff that papers were just thrown in boxes. So she's been doing a very good job on that. Another one of my projects is working on the shredding event. I have to call the solid waste and see.
Hopefully they can make it.
If we can't do October, we're going to do April, hopefully.
Okay.
We won't be ready here at the township for a big shred until at least April.
We can't use it. We can't shred township documents. We have to take ours there.
We can't use it if it comes here? Oh. Okay, well,
What?
That's what, it says it right in the packet from last year that, I mean, how are they going to know, but.
Well, David, as our rep for solid waste, let's find out a reason why that is. That seems ridiculous.
I remember that coming up before, and I can't remember what the answer was.
I'd really like to know, because since we now get $0 in grant money,
Yeah.
at the bare minimum, allow us to save some cost instead of having to haul it into Elyria. It's the same public money under the same organization.
The messenger.
Under the title of Lorraine County Board of Commissioners. Yeah, I'm not telling you, Chris, I'm just, again, you sometimes have to root out, maybe there's a logical reason, I can't see it,
well, yeah, we'll
but,
have to figure it out, but
yeah,
I was under the assumption that if we brought it here, we could open it up to the public and then we could, because we are going to have a lot of shredding.
We are.
We have just maybe 3 boxes right now that we can take over there, but we are going to have a lot of shredding. And we're
also
not
have to-
shredding it because our shredders are 8 pages, maximum, and it would take us weeks or more.
And we have to do the paperwork for the Records Commission before anything can be.
And we have to
shredded.
do all that too. That's
And
what I
that has
said.
to be corrected because that's,
Right. And so that's why we were thinking April at the earliest. But if we could do in October and in April.
right, there's nothing wrong with
Right.
doing both.
Right.
So that's all the questions that I have that I will be asking them this week.
Yeah, and let them know, we need to know early, because to notify our residents, we got to get it in the
Exactly.
newsletters.
Yep. So that's what I'm going to work on this week. Also, we have 3 lawns that Sam had mowed that were out of control, and that we're going to be putting assessments on the property taxes. We just got the bill today or yesterday from Q Lawn Service. It was in your box. So I will be taking care of that too, to get that over there.
Thank you.
Do you recall receiving any money from these
we've only,
liens?
from who?
From these liens? we
One
got?
time.
One time.
Only one, we had 2, or 3 properties, last year. 1 property paid, and the other 2 have not, but the other 2 are also behind in taxes, property taxes.
Okay, so they probably haven't changed title.
Yeah. it's tough
They have
to
not
get the
changed
money.
ownership, no.
Well, we don't know it from before, like when Remy was in, or when we were doing all those, were there any liens put on?
There was only
We-
one prior to last year. That
Yes.
was done the whole time when I was here with Howard. And we did receive that money.
Yeah, but they pay slowly.
Yeah, it's hard to recoup
Well,
that.
because of the way the property taxes go, it's like a year out, and then if they don't pay, we don't get paid.
Hey, what we paid today, we might get in 2024, August or March of
If it goes into
2025,
taxes,
if we
unless
get
the
it.
property is sold.
Well, it
If they
depends.
pay the property
property is
taxes-
sold, we receive the money as long as the assessment is already there. Where we've lost in the past, David, is just a timing issue. Usually it's a home in foreclosure where we had that going back in the 2008, 2009 period. We had a lot of homes that were abandoned. We cut the grass, we tried to get it on, but before we did that, you know, the mortgage is sold. Next thing you know, the house is in, but it hasn't hit on the auditors, on the tax duplicate. House is sold, there's no way to go back now and get your money. So that's why it's, you know, and some of it might have been slow reaction here, then slow reaction at the county
Yeah.
level. So it really, the process is kind of cumbersome to get
That-
through, but you've
That's why
got
we're
to
trying
get
to
it
put it
through
on right
quickly.
away.
Yeah.
Because as far as we know, these houses are still in the original owner's possession.
Then if it turns out that, though we haven't had this experience in our township, but in others, the property goes to the land bank, that all gets wiped clean and you don't get any funds back. Okay? Sorry, Linda.
No, that's fine. And I think that's about it. Just, you know, busy every day. Lots of phone calls and lots of people.
You have any questions, David?
No, that ain't good.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to move on then to solid waste, and we've got a couple of items here. David, the first one, do you want to handle the resolution that's there?
Okay, Neil, you went ahead and prepared a resolution. The plan update, just a little information. The plan update was approved by the policy committee and the EPA and the policy committee, and sent out to the communities for ratification. It's a little different than the last plan update in that it doesn't have the community grants in it. It doesn't have the community environmental crimes officer. It doesn't have the direct grant to the county engineer, health department as before. But it is a balanced budget plan, which is a requirement for the EPA. They need to know how we're going to fund it. We want to show that it's not going in the red. It does keep the EPA off our back. We, it's our plan. The district promulgated it. The EPA didn't have to step in and write it for us. We still have the flow control, is what it's called. That is control over what comes in the district and goes out of the district, which is key to the siting of a landfill. If some outside party would want to come in and put another landfill in the county, then we would have some say on where it would go and how it would be constructed, but on the siting of it. And I'm sure if somebody stepped in and wanted to buy the quarries and turn that into a landfill, I'm sure you want some local say on that, for example, or any township, any city would want that, would want some say. And by having a plan, by having our own district, by having a plan and having the flow control in there, we can have some say on where a landfill would go, for the siting of a new landfill. That's one item of it. It is balanced budget. There has been a decrease in funding caused by a decrease in the tipping fees, and also Republic lost a contract or two, and that reduced revenue further. So the there were cuts made because of some of the programs. There's still a balance, a $4.3 million balance that accrued when the fees were higher and they were without a director and whatnot. The funds did build up, so an answer has to come for those funds. And that's another issue, but that's not in the plan. The plan itself keeps it within the revenue, keeps the district in the revenue. And it doesn't preclude going back at a later date and re-adding something if the revenue stream improves. My recommendation is to approve it for what we've got, and we turn around, we'll be working on the next plan update. But
Okay, then I'm going to make a motion that Amherst Township approves Lorraine County Solid Waste Management District Solid Waste Management Plan. I'm not going to read the rest. It's all a prepared resolution. That'll be my motion.
I will second.
Lynch?
And
Oh, sorry.
I do just have one other question, David. You presented all the,
This is 8-3, right?
8-3, yes.
you gave very good reasons there, and I appreciate you enumerating them. I just wondered, it is good to see that they're balancing expenses against revenue. The closest it comes in 2026, where there's only a $9,257 surplus, and that's what anticipated forecast revenues of $2.1 million, and expenses also close to $2.1 million. But the ending balance actually grows. It's, if you look at it, shows the reference year of 2009, it was at $3.5 million, and they're expecting in 2024 that they'll end up with a carryover balance of $4.49 million, and that grows through 2029 to $4.74 million. Is there a plan as to how that balance is going to be used, being as how the carryover balance is approximately 2 years' worth of revenue? Has that been discussed at all?
No, nothing specific. The only thing that the balance is there, and at some point somebody's going to have to be done with it. It was wait and see what the revenue stream is going to be. Make sure there's no more bad surprises to the revenue stream. And once it stabilizes, it appears to be stabilizing, then the next question would be, what do you do with that surplus? That's, as I think I said that prior, Neil, not part of the plan, but it's another question is what to do with that surplus.
Well, essentially, it's 2 years' worth of operating revenue. So I just wondered if there was a plan for using that, or they just, it's a nice conservative budget, but I just want to know if there was some plan, recognizing, as you pointed out.
No, that's going to be the next item, whether to go back community grants and reinstitute those, reinstitute some of those programs, or something else. But the main thing is that it's not wasted. It's really a once-in-a-lifetime, I don't know if I say once-in-a-lifetime, it's a one-time deal. Whatever you do with that, you want to show something, have something to show for it. And if not, I say give it back to the communities. Like you said, it's their money, just give it back to the communities through some kind of grants, but don't go spend it on some really crazy pie-in-the-sky project.
All right, thank you. All right, Chris.
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes,
What was that number, Chris?
8-3.
this is approves the plan.
Yes. Yeah, just fill in approve, and then, Chris, you'll take care of getting certified
Yes,
copies.
I will.
Okay, now, next item.
Okay, did you want to address, David, then the other one with the Consortium 2023 bid and what we've been having discussions on as far as the manufactured home communities in Amherst Township?
I know that you are particularly concerned about the manufactured home parks, and they're set up a little different than the single-family residences, which are individual bills. They're a contract bill for the whole park, but you wanted to try to bring them into the contract one way or the other and hopefully benefit from a contract price. One recommendation that the attorney sent out was that include in Exhibit E, although not included in the original bid, the actors unit in each manufactured home park may elect as a group to participate in the collection services offered to Amherst Township residential units following expiration or termination of each manufactured home's existing collection contracts, subject to approval of the contractor. That's what she recommended. The attorney for the consortium recommended to be added to Exhibit E. And that would bring them in and at least get a quote for them. And it's not something that they would have to do, but something that they could do if they so chose to do.
Okay. Yeah, I think this language, gets us closer to what I was hoping, David. And just keep in mind, there's several reasons I thought it would be important to include the manufactured home parks. One, by increasing the volume of potential customers when it goes out to bid, even though this doesn't necessarily do that without having the manufactured home park owners agree to ahead of time. There may just not have been enough time to get that done. Is that with that larger number will decrease the cost because it's more attractive to the providers that are bidding on this. It also could increase the potential number of bidders on this because they see this larger number. By keeping those costs down helps everybody in the consortium, and particularly the homeowners in Amherst Township. For the individuals in the manufactured home parks, whether the manufactured home parks continue as they do now and have it included in their lot rent, or whether they want to turn it over to the individuals, is that if they could do it on an individual basis, now those individuals would also have the option that we include in the bid of not having to just pay for the largest cart. As you're aware, there's many single individuals living in those manufactured homes, or at most 2 people versus the larger families we have in the other homes. So they could actually choose to get the smaller cart and pay the lower fees that'd be available. So, I just see some potentials here to help all of the residents in our township and the individuals in the manufactured home communities. There's also, though we don't know who will ultimately win this bid, you're aware in the time that we were looking at this, the previous provider of those manufactured homes was a small private entity called Legacy. Lo and behold, what happened here is we were looking into this, Rumpke has purchased them. By Rumpke purchasing Legacy, kind of puts them in a better position on bidding on this, similar to what Republic's had for some time with having the landfill right here. You would think would put them in a competitive advantage. And having lost some of their customers, as you pointed out, it might be more attractive for them to try and gain the customers back that they've even lost here in Lorain County because their fees were so high. I'm sure you've looked at the numbers. What our residents are paying today is less than they were paying to Republic. What's it been now? It's over 10 years. Is it almost 12 years ago? Who can say that they're buying a service or a product today at a lower cost than they were paying 12 years ago? competition is definitely good in free market enterprise. So but who knows, we may end up having Republic come back as a provider in this with the way the economics are working out here on the solid waste pickup. You recall many times, I still remember we were over in the other meeting hall. We had the rep for Republic here and also the former rep for the solid waste. How frustrated I was when I was comparing pricing around the area versus what our residents were paying. And I really appreciate that the solid waste district, going way back when Keith Bailey was there, actually helped in getting the consortium going. If you recall, Amherst Township had tried to do that on our own at one time. It was very difficult. Particularly, I realized where we ran into some difficulty that I didn't realize at the time was including communities like New Russia Township and South Amherst, then finding out since Republic was in New Russia Township is they were providing it to their residents without charging them, which really was us subsidizing them. South Amherst, since half of them were in New Russia Township, half the village, they actually, the whole village, had their waste pickup covered. And I certainly didn't want the northern part of the village to have to be paying, and that's where the mayor at the time was really opposed to us forming as a group and going out to bid. But I do appreciate that the solid waste district, including the former director, and then GT Environmental, and then I forget the name of the attorney at the time that we dealt with. It wasn't Megan, it was someone
No,
else.
before her was another lady, and I forget what her name was, and then she left.
And that's proved beneficial, and you've seen now we've gotten several other communities join since then because they see the benefit, whereas they didn't join at the get-go. But probably, David, to help this, I'm going to make a motion that the township is going to provide Exhibit E as modified here to show this option of the potential inclusion of the 2 manufactured home parks.
I'm going to include that in.
However you want to wordsmith that, if you write it down for Chris to make
Yes.
it easy.
Include
I just got this today, just before the meeting at
just wanna
4:21.
Include, although, ... not included, the contractor,
Write it down, David.
here, matter of fact. Okay, so we will, your motion is to include, although not included in the original bid, the active units within each manufactured home park may elect as a group to participate in the collection services offered to Amherst Township. Okay, offer to Amherst Township residential units following expiration or termination of each manufactured home park's existing collection contract, subject to the approval of the contractor. To Exhibit E.
Chris?
Amherst Township bid proposal.
Chris? Yeah, my motion is to modify Amherst Township, Exhibit E. For the consortium bid proposal, just solid waste consortium bid proposal. When you're ready.
I'm ready.
The language provided by the legal representative for the consortium. And what you can do, what David was
That's
reading, and you
fine.
have this in your packet, Chris?
Yeah, I actually have
Just-
that in
All you have to
the,
do is type that.
I have that already written
Whatever you
in
want.
the notes.
I
So
want to see a picture of it.
I've got the same thing, David.
Oh, okay. So you know that's it. I'll cut it out for you too.
So that's my motion. seconding that, David?
I'm seconding it.
Discussion? Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
8-4.
That is 8-4.
Thanks, David. And probably with that email from Megan, if you can just forward back with our motion number, and copy me on it that, the Board of Trustees agreed with this. Okay? Okay, I have nothing else I just have a placeholder there, David, for new business as far as the site plan review and variance hearing cost recovery, because
I think that's almost tied to finding a new architect.
it is, and so
When that
that
gets
may
together-
get pushed out.
So that resolution that you gave, I do trust that was a sample resolution.
That's a draft.
Draft,
Mark,
yeah.
But, we'll just keep working with the prosecutor's office till we can get something, either whether it's a written contract that they'd recommend or the request for proposals. But is there any other business?
No, I really have none.
Okay. Well, the next regular meeting will be at 7:00 p.m. on Tuesday, August 22nd. Kevin, do you have any need for a work session?
No.
Okay, and then we're aware that there will be the Board of Commissioners requesting we attend the meeting on Tuesday, September 5th at 5 o'clock, and then we'll have at 6:30 p.m. back here at the township, the public hearing on that rezoning request for the 45 acres. I know, Linda, you still want to talk with us about the OPWC grant. Do you want to do that tonight or some other time?
I can scan it and just send it to you guys.
Oh, that'll help.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just funding, it's just trying to figure out how much money's.
Right, and juggling the numbers to get the best score we can,
Yep.
hoping we get approved.
Right.
So, okay,
I'll just send them electronically, and then you guys can kind of peek at them and
that'll help.
play
Okay,
with it
great.
and do whatever. And did you get that email that I sent you today for Redwood with the,
I didn't
Okay.
open it up, but you were just sending me the
I just sent
latest
you everything,
electronic
but it's
copy
got
you
the
received.
actual layout.
Right, and it's
Okay.
got the road names on it now,
Mhm,
too.
yep.
Yeah, and David, I'll get a copy to you when I look at it, but Linda received from Redwood a request for, as she reported earlier, for addresses for the 206 units, but we noticed on there it actually has street names now, okay, back in Redwood, which, they're private streets, but it does have names. So did you? I did not. August 24th at 6 p.m. And that's going to be the one for Butchko? So August 24th at 6 p.m. And that's the Butchko, the area variance, which is really what they're asking for is to use a gravel lot versus a paved lot for the added storage building that they want to put in place. Okay, then any need for an executive session?
I have none right now.
Then I'm going to make, Chris, do you have anything else?
No.
All right, then I'm going to make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.